What is going on, guys? How y'all doing today? So, in case any of you guys are just like randomly watching this video before the first one, let's remind you guys that we are reviewing every single issue of Ultimate Spider-Man from issue 1 all the way up to issue 133, and then past that, like, if we can be bothered. But you know what I mean. So yeah, so if you're just joining us, then that is what we're doing. So if you haven't seen the previous issues, then go back, watch issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, and so on until you get up to this issue and just catch up. But for you guys that are coming back to this video, this is the next issue, Ultimate Spider-Man issue 10, and we're going to see him face off against the Kingpin, and it's not necessarily going to go too well, so let's jump into the issue right now and see what happens. Okay, so jumping into the issue, you can see that Kingpin is about to squash Spider-Man like a bug, and Spider-Man is pretty much only just figuring out what that tingling is in the back of his head, and of course that is his spider sense, so he's really trying to figure that out, and I think he's got the grasp of it now that he's in danger. So he turns around and gives a massive punch to the Kingpin, and it literally does nothing. Now Kingpin grabs Spider-Man's wrist, crushes his web shooters, and asks who sent him, and Spider-Man says Carson Daly, or is it Carson Daly or Daly or something like that, but either way that's what he says, and Kingpin literally takes that as a real answer, even though Spider-Man was just messing about. So then we also get introduced to Ultimate Universe Electro. So yes, this is the Electro from the Ultimate Universe, and as you can see, he has an awesome character design, and what I specifically want to point out is that when Electro goes full power, he literally turns all blue. You know, like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 movie? That is where they got their influence from. And in my opinion, I like this Electro better than the 616 Universe Electro, just because of how developed as a character he is. And of course, he's a little bit dumb, like he's a little bit stupid, but he's smart in his own right as well, which I think is awesome. Now, as you can see, Electro takes down Spider-Man, and Kingpin and the rest of them unmask Spider-Man to reveal that it's Peter Parker. Now, of course, they've never seen this kid before, so they don't really care who he is, but they chuck him out the window, and as you can see, Kingpin says, find this Carson Daly guy or whatever, and yeah, I can't exactly remember who he is, but I'm not sure whether he's made up, but I'm sure I'll remember later on. Like, I just can't remember right now. Now, I absolutely love this part of the comic. As you can see, Peter wakes up in midair, falling down, and he tries to grab on, and this is such a comic book thing to do. He slides down the window past everyone at the party, and they kind of just look at him sliding down, or at least, do they look at him or do they not notice him? I'm not quite sure, but he just slides down past the party, and then it cuts away to Peter walking home back to his house, kind of feeling a little bit sorry for himself, and of course a little bit stupid, because not only has he come home like empty-handed, but he's also lost his mask, he's been electrocuted, and of course feels a little bit like a loser. And that's when he comes home to Aunt May, like looking a little bit upset, and that's because Peter is never in the house, he's never in the house around Aunt May, and that is when Aunt May starts to think that maybe Peter doesn't like her as a person, because obviously if you don't like someone as a person, then you're not gonna like genuinely hang around with them. So yeah, that's what Aunt May is getting at, and it turns out that she just misses Aunt May a lot, and she's feeling a little bit lonely, you know, like her husband has gone and now her nephew is just staying out late all the time, not saying where he's going and stuff like that, so it's kind of raising a little bit of questions and stuff. But anyway, moving on throughout the comic, we then go over to the next day, Saturday morning, and if you remember, this is the day where Peter and Mary Jane were supposed to have that date with, you know, the movie date, but Peter's woken up feeling obliterated after being electrocuted the day before, and Mary Jane actually rings up and Peter has to tell her that he can't exactly make it, and it's really awesome this part, because do you remember the Spider-Man 90s cartoon where Peter always used to cancel dates on Mary Jane? That's what I'm kind of getting at the sense here. You really get that sense of how Spider-Man gets in the way of Peter Parker's social life and stuff like that, and I think that's brilliant. And to be honest, I think Mary Jane might have over-exaggerated it a bit there. I don't think she should have got that upset, but yeah. Now, as you can see on screen, Kingpin actually goes over to Ox Montana and Fancy Dan and actually shows them like a souvenir, keeps the mask and gives them the mask. And that is when this mysterious guy in the hat eventually speaks up to Kingpin and pretty much just puts Kingpin in a situation where he feels like he's got to prove himself in an awesome way, like not actually proving himself, but showing him who's boss. And he puts the Spider-Man mask on his head and then crushes his skull with his bare hands, and it's pretty brutal. And as you can see, Ox Montana and Fancy Dan just look on in horror as they see this unfold in front of them. Now moving on throughout the comic, we roll on over to the next day, Sunday morning, and it's actually being said that Spider-Man is a suspect in the murder of this guy, because obviously this guy was thrown in the river and it was found with Spider-Man's mask on his head, making Spider-Man a suspect in this investigation. And of course that is all that Peter Parker needs, just more stuff on his shoulders again. Now we go over to Peter in school the next day on Monday morning, and he's actually like in class and they're talking about some President Nixon tapes, and he's actually just writing notes to Mary Jane, you know, like apologizing for cancelling the date and stuff like that. And what I really love about this thing is that because Peter Parker is Spider-Man, he's kind of learning stuff about, like, you know, like learning stuff in school by going out and living his life as Spider-Man. His teacher says, why did President Nixon film all of his stuff? And Peter knows from the Kingpin that that's because the man thinks that he was untouchable, and that's exactly what Kingpin thinks. So that's how Peter knows that answer. So it's all really awesome just how Spider-Man's life ties in with his school life as well. I think that's awesome, and I really love how they've shown it here. So that is the end of the issue, guys. What did you think of the issue? Let me know in the comments section below. Did you expect Peter to cancel Mary Jane's date? Like, was you happy or sad about that? Like, because when we read the issue yesterday, we were really excited for them to finally be getting together, and for Peter to cancel it, I imagine that kind of saddened a few of you guys, so let me know in the comments below about that. And yeah, I'm going to give this issue a 9 out of 10. The artwork was awesome as always, and of course the story and just how, as I've already explained, Spider-Man and school life tied together was awesome as well. So I think it's time to end the video, guys. So don't forget to go to the links in the description to follow me on Twitter and Facebook, because I always post comic book early previews on my Facebook page, and of course all the updates for comic book news. Follow me on Twitter for like updates on editing my videos and when videos are going uploaded and stuff like that. Also don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next video.
Forever.